There are these little changes happening in your industry everywhere. Be on the pulse of them and share them. Be as much of a resource as you can on the pulse and the changes that are happening in your industry. So new customers will reach out to you because people are scrambling, they're fearful, and they want to go with a trusted resource. And if you show you're a trusted resource, you might get some new customers out of it.
Welcome back to another mini. This week, our mini topic is very, very relevant because people are asking. The streets are talking, as they say.
Talking in
So,
the streets.
yeah, no, just say the streets are talking. Don't say talking in the streets.
I
So,
don't know, Amani.
what's the topic? I'm gonna let you introduce the topic, Minnie.
Amani, it's disaster selling. We're in the
Okay.
midst of a disaster, so we think. I'm not on the fence. I'm a little on the fence about it, but what I think we all have to prepare for, there are highs and lows in the markets. This is inevitable. We have had highs and lows in the markets. You and I in our working careers, right? For the most part, we became professionals around 97, 98. We've seen the dot-com boom. We've seen September 11th. We've seen the auto crisis. We saw the recession. We saw COVID. And now we're seeing whatever this is being called. I'm not sure. But I think it's important, whether it is this or something else, that you bulletproof your business for times like this, because these are think they're going to happen. It's silly to think these things are never going to happen. You've got to have a strategy and a plan going into these situations. So if they don't happen, awesome. At least you're ready. But I think a lot of people get really caught off guard by this. So I just wanted to talk about what do you do? What do you do in this time of what feels like a disaster in terms of your business, a potential economic downturn? Are you down with
Okay.
that? Because I'm pretty passionate about this.
Yeah. So then, let's share with us how can we bulletproof our businesses, particularly now and moving forward.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, Amani.
Okay, well, I'm here. I'm ready.
Look, because you're an entrepreneur now,
Hmm.
but for a long time you were on the corporate side. So I feel like you speak to both sets of audiences that we have. So I want to ask you, when you were at Marriott and you went through the dot-com boom, you went through September 11th, you went through the auto crisis of 2008 and recession, what did you see those big organizations doing to prepare for it, manage it, even if they mismanaged it, prepare for it, management, and come out of it? Like, what were some things that you saw them doing?
I remember for Marriott, it was just really more focused on just more sales, like more soliciting, more outreach. You had to be a little more flexible with rates. You had to maybe take some business you might not normally have taken. It got to be a lot of short-term demand because it was so much uncertainty. That's what comes to mind right away was just doing more sales work, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, it's all sales, right? Right. But what I love hearing you say is like, be prepared for the short term. I think that's probably my number one piece of advice. Be prepared for the short term. Set up a strategy for the short term, right? If your sales are typically a 6 to 9 to 12 to 18 month cycle, be ready to shorten it. Like, and it doesn't necessarily mean strategically, it means administratively. How are you preparing your business to be ready for the short term? I think that's a great example that you gave and a solution of how to go for it. And you talked about rates, right? Just because we potentially are in a disaster selling situation or a low economic situation, it doesn't mean that you have to instantly drop your rates. I think people panic and they instantly drop the price. That's great for people like me. Yes, do that, because then I can buy everything I want for my customers. But the reality is, you don't have to do that. Some of the conversations I've been having with a lot of my coaching clients and then some of my other conference clients are, be on the pulse of the changes that impact your industry, whatever the industry is, and share it. So some of these changes may impact you in a bad way. Some of them may impact you in a good way. I was just talking to our test guest, remember? Our
Hmm.
test guest from, 3 years ago. And he works for a major credit card company. And his whole job is to convince agencies of the government to use more credit cards and debit cards and less cash and checks. Well, one of these changes that happened in the marketplace was that the federal government is no longer, for certain agencies, is no longer taking checks. That's a big change in the industry. That's something that benefits the
Yeah,
credit
yeah,
card company,
yeah.
right? We wouldn't have thought that that would benefit him. So there are these little changes happening in your industry everywhere. Be on the pulse of them and share them. Share them in a monthly webinar with your customers. Do a LinkedIn post about it. Do a 3 bulleted email, a newsletter out to people. Make a video, do a blog post, do a TikTok video. Be as much of a resource as you can on the pulse and the changes that are happening in your industry. So new customers will reach out to you because people are scrambling, they're fearful, and they want to go with a trusted resource. And if you show you're a trusted resource, you might get some new customers out of it. Another thing is talk to your customers and ask them, how are these changes impacting your business? Ask them. You may be making some assumptions that the changes are crushing their business. The changes might be good for their business. So
Mm.
just ask them the question. If it were me, I would take the next 2 weeks to set up 3 calls a day with customers to say, we're having a conversation about economic conditions. 20-minute call. That's an hour out of your day for the next, for the next however many days, and ask them, how are these changes? Through those conversations, you're going to be able to come up with some solutions. If you're not coming up with some solutions, you're just being proactive to let them know, hey, you're going through some changes. So are we. But guess what? I'm here for you. I'm here to offer you some solutions. The other thing is, people will get laid off, people will get fired, people will change jobs because the uncertainty is frightening. So you've got to make sure that you have a contact information for your customer, personal cell phones, DMs, whatever you can, because once they're not at that company anymore, you don't
Yeah,
have a contact for them.
yeah.
So again, go through your Rolodex or go through your online system that you have. Make sure you've got personal contacts. So when they change jobs, you're still in touch. With that, make sure you have contact information for others in the company so you can continue the relationship and the momentum with that particular company. For your customers that might get laid off, be a service to them. Be of service. Be a resource to them. Let them know, send me your resume. If somebody is looking for something that you do, I'm happy to connect you. If you're on LinkedIn and you see that I'm connected to somebody that you're connected to, let me know. Write your customers a recommendation. That goes really, really far. Be of service, because once they get a new job and you're a preferred vendor, they're going to remember how you helped them. And we got to lift people up. We can't live as transactional mindset of, hey, while you have a job, I'm your best buddy. You don't have a job, it's crickets. It's just that you can't build long-term relationships like that. Um,
Let me ask
yes.
you a follow-up question as you're going through your
Yeah.
list. It sounds like you have some slides there, but I'm just taking a
I got
guess.
some slides. And you know what? Do you think we should put the slides in the we put the slides in the show notes, a link to
Okay,
them so
cool.
people
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
take a peek at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure your branding is on the slide so people know where they came from too. Brand those slides.
Okay.
Uh,
At Mandy Graziano.
yes,
It's on there. It's
exactly.
on
Yes,
there.
yes, good. That's a whole different subject for a whole different mini. What are
Next
you
week.
doing to proof, bulletproof, for lack of a better word, your speaking business, and how are you handling that?
I'm just paying attention to what people want to talk about. So, like, for example, I have a speech on Wednesday this week about building social capital through being
Oh,
visible
ho-
online.
hold on, hold on. Don't just dismiss you have a speech on Wednesday. Tell us where this speech is because it's very monumental. It's very cool. So please share some details.
It's at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Amani. I'm so excited. I mean, I'm just a poor girl from Cleveland, Ohio, and to speak on a stage at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a big deal. This is a big
It's
deal
a
for me.
very
I'm
big deal.
excited.
Yes.
And
Cont-
my mom's gonna go too.
yes, yes. Continue on.
Yeah.
Continue.
Anyways, I think you need to, I'm still going to speak about the same things, but when you give speeches, people start asking you questions. I'm just tuned in. I've got my antenna up and I'm paying attention to the questions people are asking. And normally I start seeing a trend. And when I start seeing a trend, I'm going to create a new speech, a new coaching session for those trends. This is why I came up with these slides about disaster selling, is because a lot of people have been asking, how are you handling the economic changes? This is on the mind of everybody. So I have a whole coaching session surrounding it now because it's on people's minds. So I just think keep your antenna up in your speaking world. And I think, Amani, your conversation about resilient and brilliant, that's great. Being resilient and brilliant is free. And
Mhm.
people are looking for free solutions right now, right? So I think, and it might even be like how to be resilient and brilliant in a disaster selling situation, or how to be resilient and brilliant in a down economy. It just might be
Yeah.
a title change, but the same
Yeah.
content.
Interesting. Okay. And then a follow-up question would be,
Yeah.
because I know we have a lot of speakers that tune into our show. We had a lot of them as guests. Like,
Yeah.
are you seeing the booking window for that shorten, lengthen, budgets? Like, what are you noticing for your business?
I have been seeing people's budgets being cut a little bit on speakers, but people's budgets aren't being cut on training. So
Hmm.
I think you should just position yourself as a trainer, as a coach, as a facilitator, um, because people's budgets are not being cut for training that I've seen so far. Now, it may be cut later on by the time this airs. Um, but travel, for example, I've seen people, say like they're cutting their travel budget for now, but get really good at virtual speaking. Be that
Yeah.
person that is doing a virtual speech. You got to morph and nuance with all of
Yeah.
this.
Good, good. That's good points there. Okay. Any final thoughts on just kind of future proofing and kind of riding out this quote unquote storm that is either beginning in the middle or towards the end? Any final thoughts that we didn't cover?
One last thing. This is
Yeah.
important, and this is the thing nobody does. Understand contract nuances that impact your business. Understand the contracts you have with your vendors, understand the contracts your vendors have with you, and proactively develop some swaps that are mutually beneficial. This is the age of renegotiation.
Mm.
You are going to get approached by people that want to renegotiate their terms, their pricing. Don't freak out. This could be a good opportunity for both sides. So understand the contract nuances and be ready to renegotiate. Renegotiation doesn't always mean a bad thing, but just be ready and make sure if somebody wants to renegotiate it on the other side, be ready for what you want in return. This can be mutual.
All right. There we go. So that brings us to the end of another mini. Stay tuned next week for our next subject. We're going to wish Mandy good luck on her speech this week. Also at
Thank
the
you,
Rock and Roll
Amani.
Hall of Fame in Cleveland,
Thanks, Amani.
Ohio. Epic. Make sure we get good photos and video. Make sure you, the viewer or the listener, rate, review, subscribe on the platform you're watching or listening on, and share with a friend. We will see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Disasters can be okay.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.